You are now seeing live images straight from the Vatican, where the papal conclave is now taking place. It is 6:32 p.m. over at Rome, 12:32 a.m. in the morning here in Manila. We are bringing you live pictures of the conclave happening at St. Peter's Square, where cardinals have now gathered to elect the next pope of the Catholic Church. Taking a look here at the chimney that sits atop the Sistine Chapel, this will indicate whether cardinal electors have finally reached a consensus, a two-thirds majority, in order to elect the next pope of the Catholic Church. This particular chimney installed on top of the Sistine Chapel, visible from St. Peter's Square. It could just emit black smoke in a few moments, which means no pontiff has been chosen yet, or white smoke, which signals that a new pope has been elected. Welcome to a One News special coverage on the Papal Conclave. Good morning, I'm Pauline Verzosa. Now at this point, joining me now to give us updates straight from St. Peter's Square at the Vatican, we have our News 5 correspondent, Mon Gualvez. Good morning here from Manila, Mon. Before anything else, I wanted to ask you about the atmosphere there at the Vatican, at St. Peter's Square. Is the anticipation palpable already as we wait for the results of the first round of voting of the cardinal electors?
Hi Pauline, good evening here from the Vatican. At sa mga oras na ito, talagang patuloy na dumarami yung mga taong nagpupunta dito sa may St. Peter's Square. No, right after na pumasok lahat ng mga cardinal electors inside the Sistine Chapel, talagang halos napuno immediately itong St. Peter's Square. All are excited, all are still looking forward kung sino kaya ang magiging susunod na Santo Papa of the Catholic Church. No, some of them are bringing different flags to show their nationalities, and they have their cardinals na nilook forward na maging pope. Though ang sinasabi ng mga cardinals dapat dito talaga pinangungunahan yung pinaka mangyayaring conclave, no? Kanina talagang nakatutok lahat dito kasi nga aside from the online live streaming, maraming mga sinet up na mga wide screens dito sa paligid ng St. Peter's Square. So, yan nakikita nyo ngayon mga kapatid, ay talagang dami ng tao inside the St. Peter's Square, and until now, patuloy na dumarating yung mga tao dito sa harap ng St. Peter's Basilica. Though, nakabantay pa rin ang iba't ibang mga authorities dito, mas dumami rin actually yung mga police na rumoroving at syempre yung mga entry points at talaga mahigpit yung security screening dyan at the same time. No? So, right now, talagang yung excitement ramdam pa rin dito sa paligid ng St. Peter's Square, Pauline.
But I understand mo, since it is only the first day of the conclave, hindi pa masyadong maraming tao dyan sa St. Peter's Square. Can we expect more people to come in the coming days kung kailan patuloy yung smoke watching na tinatawag?
Yes, sinasabi din naman talaga initially ng mga tao na kapag first vote, or first voting ng mga cardinal electors, most likely hindi raw nagkakaroon pa ng bagong Santo Papa. But then again, there's always a possibility. Kaya naman may mga tao na nag-aabang dito. Some of them are saying na mukhang hindi na sila uuwi. Aantayin na nila hanggang bukas etong botohan pa rin or conclave ng mga cardinal electors for the Catholic Church. No? So, itong araw na ito, few minutes, few hours from now, maaaring may lumabas ng usok at nakaantabay na lahat dito sa labas ng St. Peter's Square, if ever. Kanina, maulan dito sa lugar, kaya talagang marami mga taong umaalis, no, at kumikilid lamang, sumisilong. Pero ngayon, talagang mas dumami kasi nga tumaas naman yung sikat ng araw, although 6:36 na ng gabi dito sa area. Kaya naman, we're expecting na yung mga galing sa trabaho, pupunta na rin dito. Kaya mukhang mas dadami na rin siya eventually just to see if it's a black smoke or a white smoke yung lalabas mula sa chimney ng Sistine Chapel.
Okay, Mon. Well, before we talk about the smoke that will be emerging dun sa chimney ng Sistine Chapel, let's just walk back through the events that took place earlier today on the first day of the conclave before the doors of the Sistine Chapel closed, because we know that this conclave, this process is such a secretive and steeped in tradition already. So what are some of the traditions that were followed earlier today before the cardinal electors entered and prisoned themselves, quote unquote, inside the Sistine Chapel?
Yes, the whole conclave process started with the Mass. This morning, they had a Mass that they attended at the St. Peter's Basilica. The Mass is called Missa Pro Eligendo Romano Pontifice. This is the Mass for the election of the Pope of the Catholic Church. And then afterwards, they had a short break. They have taken their lunch and some siesta time. And then at exactly 3:45 in the afternoon here in the Vatican, they had their procession from the Casa Santa Marta going to the Pauline Chapel and then towards the Sistine Chapel. And while doing the procession, they are reciting the litany of the saints. They are reciting all the saints, asking for their guidance, their blessing for this election proper. And then afterwards, they entered the Sistine Chapel, in which one by one, all the 133 cardinal electors had their oath of secrecy. At the same time, their oath with the gospel in doing this kind of conclave. At after nun, dito na nagsabi no yung pinaka-statement or yung phrase na extra omnes, that everyone should be out except for the cardinal electors. No, so nung dito na tayo nawalan na ng idea what is happening inside the Sistine Chapel. Pero initially, ang sinasabi din naman according to the Apostolic Constitution, i-discuss yan sa mga cardinal electors. At yung Apostolic Constitution na yan, kapag okay na, ito yung mga possible na nangyayari na ngayon Ang sinasabi dyan is kung meron ba sila mga tanong, concerns, or clarifications, and then afterwards, dito na itatanong kung itutuloy ba nila ang botohan o hindi. And then after that, ikakas na yung mga votes, tapos pipilangin yung tinatawag nga na scrutinium, pagbilang ng boto. At pag nagkaroon ng 89 votes, which is the 2/3 out of the 133, maglalabas na nga ng white smoke. And pag hindi naman, black smoke ang lalabas dito sa chimney of the Sistine Chapel, at magkakaroon ulit ng another round of votes tomorrow. 4 rounds of voting ang inilaan para sa second day. Pero again, syempre, these are just the available slots. Kumbaga, kapag meron na boto at talaga nakakuha ng 2/3 of the votes, we now have a new pope.
I mean, we have the whole world watching this, right, Mon? Everyone has their eyes glued to this chimney, awaiting for any signal that the cardinal electors have already cast their ballots, waiting if it's a black smoke or a white smoke. But the question is, how likely is it that they will decide already just after one round of voting? How likely is it that white smoke could emerge in just a few minutes, in a few hours, there from the Sistine Chapel? Has that ever happened already in history, Mon?
Well, yung likeliness na magkaroon ng boto kaagad dito sa first round pa lamang ng botohan or first voting ng mga cardinal electors, malaki talaga yung possibility. It's because nakatulong yung ginawa nilang mga congregation or gathering among the cardinals themselves, in which dito diniscuss nila yung mga issues concerning the Catholic Church in current times. At syempre, dyan nakita nila yung mga cardinals na nag-raise ng kanilang parang responses over these concerns or issues. At ito mukhang nagkaroon ng idea ang mga fellow cardinals nila kung sino ba yung mas may magandang pananaw sa mga usapin at talaga ang mga problemang kinakaharap ng Catholic Church this time. In terms of historical aspect, no, ang sinasabi talaga nila, malabo yung first day pa lamang na magkaroon kaagad. Kasi parang itong first voting na ito, dito rin sila nagkakaroon ng idea kung sino ba yung mga malakas or sino ba yung mas binoboto ng nakararami. So parang this is somehow a testing the waters initially dito sa ginagawa nga nila voting for the first time no ng conclave. So again, those are the parang mga interpretations of the priests and of course of the Catholic Church at the same time or mga experts no dito sa usapin na ito. So although balikan din natin, may mga pope din naman in the earlier times ang talagang na-elect in few hours lamang. Pero hindi pa kasi nangyayari yung mismong conclave that time.
Well, Mon, before we move on with our discussion, I just wanted to go back to these some images from that mass earlier and the procession of the cardinal electors entering the Sistine Chapel. As you can see here, all 133 cardinals entering as they lock themselves inside the Sistine Chapel following a centuries-old tradition. In fact, we are witnessing history, and it's just nice to see how this is being juxtaposed with the modern world. But you still have the Catholic Church following this rich tradition of cardinals locking themselves inside, praying for the Holy Spirit to guide them in choosing the next leader of the Catholic Church. They were chanting the Litany of Saints, as you mentioned, Monano, and even the Veni Creator Spiritus hymn, na apparently 1,000 years old na, at it's really in the heart of the Catholic Church. We also saw this tradition of how the master of papal liturgical celebrations gave the order of extra omnes, which means everybody out. It sounds quite harsh, no? But quite direct na everybody out. But that's really what it means. And everyone who doesn't have any business inside the Sistine Chapel must leave, leaving all 133 cardinals inside. And as you mentioned, Mona, no? 2/3 vote ang kailangan. So that means 89 votes will be needed to elect the next Pope of the Catholic Church. And sabi mo nga Mona, no? So the first round is usually reserved para dun sa testing waters and just seeing how each cardinal is voting. I also read somewhere it's about, discerning. It's really seeing how the sentiments of the other popes or the other cardinals rather. But inside dito sa Sistine Chapel, Mona, no? Are they allowed to discuss their thoughts, their votes with one another? And how true is it na merong mga clique, kumbaga, o yung mga grupo-grupo ng mga cardinals? Meron ba talaga yung mga nasa leaning more onto the conservative side versus the liberal side?
Nako, yung tinatanong mo, Pauline, yung tungkol sa if they can share yung mga voting insights nila, mahigpit na pinagbabawal yan during the conclave. Ito yung dahilan kaya sila nagsagawa ng oath of secrecy, no? Maalala nyo, talagang prior to this one, yung mga gathering of the cardinals pa lamang, yung mga congregation, nanumpa na rin sila doon. Kasi nga, kumbaga kailangan hindi nila ipahagi yung mga napag-uusapan internally. At lalong-lalo na dito sa voting proper, mas lalong hindi talaga ito pwedeng lumabas. At lalong hindi ka pwedeng mangampanya, no? Hindi ka pwedeng magsabi ng gusto mo at syempre magpakita ng interest mo. Kapag nalaman nila na ginagawa mo ito, pwede ka nila isumbong and you can be excommunicated. So this is a very, very grave sin for a Catholic or for a Christian. At yung oath of secrecy, hindi lang siya ginawa ng mga cardinal electors, kundi ginawa rin ito ng lahat ng mga people who will assist and who will be inside the Casa Santa Marta, no? Who will be assisting the cardinals. Sino-sino yan? There are doctors, nurses, nandiyan din yung mga Swiss guards, merong chef, at syempre yung mga staff na kasama doon. Dito naman sa Sistine Chapel, wala namang problema because again, dahil nga sa phrase na extra omnes, tanging mga cardinal electors lamang ang nandito sa loob habang nagsasagawa. So, bakit importante na kailangan pati yung mga nasa Casa Santa Marta ay mag-oath din ng secrecy virtue, no? Dahil nga right after the voting, all the cardinal electors will go back to the Casa Santa Marta where they stay and sleep, no? At be ready for another day of tomorrow.
That's right. And the only signal we have or any indicator that the cardinal electors have reached a vote is none other than that chimney that sits atop Sistine Chapel, which we will be closely monitoring if it will be billowing black or white smoke in just a few moments. But for now, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be speaking with you again later on. But for now, thank you. News 5 correspondent Mon Gualvez there on the ground. At this point, we will be checking on the other side of the Vatican with News 5 anchor Cheryl Cosim. She also joins us live from the Vatican in Rome. Hi, Cheryl. Kamusta naman dyan on your end? Cheryl? All right, so we also have News 5 anchor Cheryl Cosim getting the latest there on the ground at St. Peter's Square. She has been monitoring the conclave since the weekend, since Sunday, where they also got to speak to some of the Filipino cardinals who will be joining this conclave. 3 Filipino cardinals. Among them, you are seeing on your screen Luis Antonio Cardinal Tagle. He has been touted as a front-runner, papabile for this particular conclave because he was dubbed, or he is dubbed, as the Asian Francis. They say that he embodies the values of Pope Francis, who is quite close to the poor, who wants an open church, and is quite charismatic. But then again, there are also conversations, much has been said about liberals versus conservatives. So our guess is just as good as others. But for now, we will be checking in again with Cheryl Yang. Cheryl, can you hear me? Cheryl? Okay, we will be... There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
All right. I don't know. Hello.
Cheryl, kamusta naman dyan? Where are you right now and what's the atmosphere like?
Okay, I think I'm having a little trouble with the signal right now, but I'm inside St. Peter's Square and I'll try to move my camera. Sisimple ko lang, Paulina, because I'm not sure kung allowed talaga mag-live inside the square, but I don't know if you can see it now. Grabe na ang tao. Okay, I'm gonna have to.
Okay. Well, right now, Cheryl, we do hear you clearly over the phone.
Camera.
Maganda naman yung audio mo. We just don't have a visual image of you right now. Pero sige, we can talk about what's the atmosphere like there at St. Peter's Square. Okay.
Can you actually see it now?
No, unfortunately we do not see your video now, Cheryl. Oh, no, but yes, go ahead.
Talaga ba? Sayang naman kasi it's such a beautiful. Oh well, let me see. Let me check. I think that my signal.
Yeah, so right now, Cheryl, we do see a small image of St. Peter's Square. We're going to have to double check on how to enlarge this image now, but we can hear you perfectly. If you could just tell us what's going on right now. Is everyone excited for that first smoke to come out of the Sistine Chapel? Cheryl? All right, so we will be checking once again later on in the program with News 5 anchor Cheryl Cosim. But as you can see here, thousands of Catholics, devotees, pilgrims waiting inside St. Peter's Square as everyone fixates their eyes on that chimney on the Sistine Chapel, because that's our only indicator, the signal to signal the Catholic faithful and the whole world on whether the cardinals have reached a consensus. It is only the first day of the conclave, and it is also the first round of votes. And as Mon was mentioning earlier, usually the first round of voting is where cardinal electors get a sense, get a feel of how everyone is voting, which names will be emerging as the ones with the most number of votes. And from there, it could determine if one will already win and white smoke will emerge. But if not, they will continue with the voting process tomorrow. So they will have up to 4 rounds of voting every day up until they reach a consensus or that 2/3 majority with a particular number of 89. They will have 2 voting sessions in the morning and 2 voting sessions in the afternoon. But after 3 days, if they still do not reach a majority vote, cardinal electors will be taking a break, 1 day off, to pray and discern over their vote, how they will be electing the newest leader of the Catholic Church. And once again, we are witnessing history unfold. This is a moment of profound significance for the Catholic Church and for all the Catholics around the world. This conclave commencing today marks the 76th papal election conducted under the current procedures. It is a system that has evolved over centuries, with the term conclave originating from the Latin word cum clavis, which does refer to that secluded environment where cardinals convene to elect a new pope. Over at the Vatican right now, we're seeing clear skies, which is quite different from how the 2013 conclave transpired when they were where they eventually elected Pope Francis. It was quite gloomy, but still thousands of devotees, hundreds of thousands of devotees were standing outside, braving the cold and the rainy weather. But right now, today, it's nice to see some good weather over there at the Vatican. And while we wait for the smoke from the first conclave vote, we will now pause this conversation first and make way for a report on what exactly happens in the conclave. Let's watch this.
It's a centuries-old ritual involving sacred oaths by the cardinals electing a successor. The conclave is shrouded in secrecy, with cardinals forbidden from communicating with the outside world about what happens or what happened as they choose the Catholic Church's next shepherd behind the frescoed walls of the Sistine Chapel. St. John Paul II rewrote the regulations on papal elections in a 1996 document that remains largely in force. Pope Benedict XVI amended it twice before he resigned. Benedict most notably excluded the vision that a pope could be elected by a simple majority if voting was stalemated. Benedict decreed that a 2/3 majority is always needed, no matter how long it takes. He did so to prevent cardinals from holding out for the 12 days foreseen by John Paul and then pushing through a candidate with a slim majority. Current regulations notionally limit the number of electors to 120, but popes have often exceeded that ceiling. This year, there are 133 cardinals under the age of 80 that are eligible to vote. How are the votes taken? A first ballot is held in the Sistine Chapel on the afternoon after the initial Mass. If no pope is elected, over the ensuing days, 2 ballots are held each morning and 2 each afternoon. The ballots are rectangular pieces of paper with space for a name on top and with the words Eligo in Sumum Pontificem, or I elect as Supreme Pontiff. Each cardinal makes his choice, folds the paper in half, walks to the front of the chapel, and declares, I call as my witness Christ the Lord, who will be my judge, that my vote is given to the one who before God I think should be elected. He then puts the ballot on a tray and tips it into a receptacle. 3 designated cardinals, known as scrutineers, check each ballot to see if it is filled out correctly. Each name is read aloud and counted, with the results announced to the conclave after each round. If no one gets the needed 2/3 of votes, the ballots are pierced with a needle and thread, then knotted and placed on a tray, and another round of voting is prepared. After the ballots are pierced, they are burned in a cylindrical stove at the end of the voting session. Black smoke from the Sistine Chapel chimney means no decision. White smoke signals the cardinals have chosen a pope and that he has accepted. Chemical cartridges are added to ensure there is no confusion over the color. To produce black smoke, a cartridge containing potassium perchlorate, anthracene, the component of coal tar, and sulfur is burned with the ballots. For white smoke, a cartridge of potassium chlorate, lactose, and chloroform resin is burned with the ballots. Bells also are rung to signal the election of a pope for further clarity.
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. Habemus papam.
The new pope is introduced from the loggia overlooking St. Peter's Square with the words, Habemus Papam, or We Have a Pope, and his chosen papal name. The new pope then emerges and gives his first blessing.
So there you go. That gives us a glimpse of how the conclave works. Once the doors are shut in the Sistine Chapel, we only have a few ideas and we only know what we're told. But so far, that is a centuries-old tradition that is being followed. Images here of St. Peter's Square, as you see thousands of people waiting outside for any sign of that smoke to emerge. We are anticipating the first vote to end by 7 o'clock p.m. Rome time or 1 o'clock a.m. here in the Philippines. Now here's the significance as well of the conclave. This papal election has very deep spiritual, cultural, and even geopolitical implications because there are, in fact, over 1.4 billion Catholics around the world, and this conclave will be choosing the 267th Pope, the successor to St. Peter, the Church's first leader. He will be the moral compass, as they say, of the Catholic Church, and he will be one of the most influential leaders globally. Now, this conclave is steeped in tradition and prayer, and it is believed that it will be guided by the Holy Spirit. The Philippines is also, of course, a major Catholic nation with 85.65 million Filipinos identifying as Roman Catholic. Now, that represents about 78% of the country's household population, making us also the third largest Catholic nation in the world after Brazil and Mexico. That's why this conclave means a lot to Filipinos. Every time that cardinals elect a new leader, a new pontiff, you have the whole country watching, monitoring this conclave. Right now, so we are still keeping a close watch on this chimney. No signs of any smoke just yet, but we did see the process of the conclave, how it goes inside, each cardinal writing their names on a piece of paper and then submitting it in silence, lining up by seniority. And after each ballot is counted, it will be burned and it will be mixed with special chemicals to produce visible smoke from that very chimney. So once again, black smoke indicates no decision has been made just yet or the majority hasn't been reached. While white smoke means a new pope has been elected. Now, for this particular round of voting, there will only be one round, as it is already 7 o'clock p.m. there in Rome. After today, if they do not reach that consensus, they will be reconvening tomorrow, May 8th, there at the Vatican. And they will have up to 4 rounds of voting, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. And if they do not still reach a majority vote, they will continue that up to 3 days until they reach that majority we were talking about. Now, this decision of choosing the next leader of the Catholic Church definitely lies as well in the hands of the cardinals, but you also have some observers and experts often speculating on some high-profile names, people that, their favorites. There have even been some bets online with everyone signifying who their favorites are. A few names coming up, including Cardinal Pietro Parolin, who is the Vatican's Secretary of State. He is a widely respected diplomat at 70 years old. Then there's also Filipino Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. He is 67 years old, and he's known for his charisma, his humility, and connection to the Global South. Now, when we say Global South, it does refer to that the countries in Latin America, Africa, Asia, and they're often characterized as the less developed or economically disadvantaged countries compared to the Global North, which includes Europe and North America. There's also Cardinal Matteo Zuppi of Italy, who is known to be quite progressive and focused on social justice. And he has done a lot in terms of peace efforts. So he is also a front-runner and an Italian at that. Another front-runner here is also Cardinal Robert Sara from Guinea, a 79-year-old cardinal who has a rather traditionalist voice. They say he also has strong liturgical and doctrinal views, which makes him quite conservative. On the other hand, there's also Cardinal Jean-Marc Aveline of France, another European here, a theologian focused on interreligious understanding. So many names coming up. But there's also that saying that you enter the conclave a pope, you leave it as a cardinal, which just goes to show that you cannot come into the conclave thinking that you already won, because most likely it's not going to happen. In fact, back in 2013, Pope Francis wasn't a front runner when it came to the conclave. So now we're going to check back with News 5 correspondent Mon Gualvez, who still joins us live from the Vatican. Hi, Mon, can you hear me okay? Mon? All right, we're going to check that again. Hi, Mon. There you go.
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Mon. So we only have you on audio right now, but no worries. We can
I'm
still.
actually going for lumalayo. Okay. Lumalayo lang ako sandali, no? Kasi nga mukhang talagang naging in-effect na yung signal jamming.
Oo nga, Mon, no? Medyo pa.
Area.
Medyo putol-putol na yung audio natin.
Authorities already have announced that they will be installing signal jammers.
Okay, so just as Mon was cut off, he was talking about the signal jammers there.
As I mentioning a while ago.
Okay, so we will be checking back in with Juan Gualvez there at, it's already 7:03 p.m. over at Rome at the Vatican, 1:03 a.m. Philippine time. Thanks for staying with us here on One News. This is a special coverage of the papal conclave. All eyes still on that chimney, but no signs just yet of smoke coming out from that chimney, whether it will be black, indicating that no pope has been elected just yet, or if it will be white, which means the Catholic Church has a new pontiff. But just going back to the cardinal electors for this particular conclave, it is the largest and most diverse group of cardinals to ever join a papal conclave. This particular group, representing 70 countries, they did enter the doors of the Sistine Chapel and began their seclusion earlier. They are well represented, and in fact, 80% of them were appointed by Pope Francis. 108 out of 133 cardinals appointed by Pope Francis. So it begs the question on whether will they be inclined to continue his legacy, what he started on being a very inclusive pontiff, opening the church to the poor, bringing attention to far-flung areas, giving attention to refugees, war victims, promoting peace, even environment. So those are some questions that we will hopefully will be answered with after this election concludes. But right now, we will be checking back in with News 5 anchor Cheryl Cosim, who is there in the action. Hi, Cheryl. Can you hear me okay now?
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, and I can see you okay now, Cheryl. Yes, go ahead.
Great. You know, bit of a challenge, actually, it's not just a bit of a challenge, but a big challenge on the signals. I think this is really expected, and they have announced it, that there will be problems on the signal, I guess, because of the security and also para yung hindi mag-leak yung boto, yung interference doon sa botohan. Well, I'm now joined by Father Derek James Vergara. Isa siyang canon law student dito sa Roma. And I decided to invite him because talagang mas marami siyang ibabahagi sa atin, Pauline. But just to give you an idea, or like para ma-feel nyo dyan, kanina, like around, it's already 7 p.m. here in Rome, but around 5 o'clock, couple of hours ago, wala pa masyadong tao dito sa St. Peter's Square. But now, I don't know if it's really safe to move my camera.
Yes.
Sobra na siyang dami ng tao. Sobra na. And the feel here, the mood is very hopeful and festive. Ayun. Tinulungan pa ako ni Father James. Ayan. Very festive. Tapos makikita, no, may mga makikita tayong flags na wini-wave. Yung cameras, ready na talaga. Yung famous na chimney of the Sistine Chapel, standing in the spotlight. Most here, no. Now, it's rare for a pope to be elected on the first vote, but, you know, that hasn't stopped the excitement. Posible. Kasi lagi nating naririnig. Pauline, can you hear me? O masyado na madaldal? Sorry.
Yes, Cheryl, go ahead.
I can just continue. Lagi natin naririnig kasi ngayon with even the cardinal electors na na-ambush na interview doon sa mga pari na nakakausap natin, sinasabi nila na mukhang magiging mabilis itong pagpili ng bagong Santo Papa. But hindi lang natin alam kung sobrang bilis na ngayon sa unang labas ng usok, baka makita natin kulay puti na. Kaya ang daming tao nandito ngayon at compared doon sa last kay Pope Francis, yung panahon na elect siya ay maulan. Ngayon it's summer, the weather is beautiful, it's perfect, talagang ang daming gustong maghintay. Handang lalabas dyan sa chimney. And ito, we're with Father James Vergara. Father, kasi pasado alas 7 na, anong oras ba talaga natin aasahan na may lalabas na usok dyan sa chimney?
Cheryl, kanina ay parang nagpalabas ng medyo late announcement na Holy Press nasa the smoke, right, the smoke. Lumabas siya around 7:30. Kasi ay sa dami din kanina ko nakita halos isang oras sila nanonood pa, isa-isang minuto sa loob ng Sistine Chapel. Kaya after ko sinabi yung extra otes, kung nakita nyo, yung Master of Liturgical Ceremonies, si Monsignor Rabel, ay sinarado yung pintuan. Pero bago niya isarado, mayroon pang isang captain na noon na Franciscan, si Father Ranier, kung mesa, dahil magbibigay pa siya ng parang reflection before mag-start.
That reflection, more or less, gaano katagal yun?
Alam, depende kay Father Ranier, pero siguro mga 10 to 15 minutes na reflection siya.
Kasi kanina, Father Vergara, noong natapos yung kanilang pag-take ng oath of secrecy, parang natapos a little before 6 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay, tansyahin natin, calculate natin, Pauline, kung mga 10 to 15 minutes yung reflection, what happens next after that?
Sabi kasi doon sa Apostolic Constitution, kapag nakalabas ng lahat, itatanong muna nung cardinal din, pero wala yung cardinal din. So yung most senior cardinal, si Cardinal Parolin na itatanong niya sa mga cardinal electors kung may tanong pa ba kayo, may ika-clarify pa ba kayo. Kapag sinabi nilang wala na, ang susunod na itatanong ay mag-proceed ba tayo sa botohan o hindi? Well, since kahapon ay in-announce according to the Holy See Press Office na magkakaroon ng botohan, so I suppose na settle na yung question na magkakaroon ng botohan. So yun na yung susunod. Kapag na-settle na yung mga questions na yun, they will proceed na doon sa pagboto.
Oo. And Pauline, hindi biro, 132 cardinals.
And yung isa ay nandun sa Casa Santa Marta.
Ayun, yun yung may sakit.
Yeah.
Oo. Yung isa kasi, I don't know if you were able to discuss that. Total of 133 cardinal electors ang boboto nga, pero yung isa kasi may sakit. So ang mangyayari dyan ay may 3 cardinal electors na pupunta sa Casa Santa Marta para kunin yung kanyang boto. Tapos ibabalik ulit sa loob ng Sistine Chapel. Kailangan 3. Bakit 3?
Kasi para
walang silipan.
may tiebreaker pa. Huwag naman sana magkaroon ng contention pa regarding tungkol sa boto ng authenticity or ano. So may isang magta-tiebreaker na, hindi, ito. So talaga nag-cast lang po.
At ganun yun mangyayari the entire time ng botohan. That particular boto, magkakast ng vote niya sa loob ng Casa Marta at laging susunduin yon ng tatlong cardinal electors. Maglalakad siguro
Ang sabi ay nabuboto itong mga tatlong isa sa mga
sila yung uunahin.
na isa sila sa mga boto na nabuboto. And then after launch na sila.
Ayun.
So siguro baka ay provide pero of course it will take time.
Kakaibang sitwasyon yun.
Cheryl? Oo, nako, parang naapektuhan kayo nung signal jammer dyan sa may Sistine Chapel, ano? But we will be getting back with you. For now, thank you very much for joining us. Cheryl Cosim there of News 5 and 1PH, and Father Vergara, thank you very much. Okay, at this point, we will go back to News 5 correspondent Mon Gualvez. Hi, Mon. Are you back?
Kasi kanina
Hi,
po
Mon.
nagsasalita kayo, okay, dahil nakasteady pa kayo, hindi pa lang.
Hi, Mon.
Hi, Pauline.
Go ahead. Mon,
Yeah.
is the audio okay?
Lumayo ako ng konti. Andito ako sa may bandang dulo ng padiretso sa St. Peter's Square, at dito talaga nakaset up talaga every 500 meters yung mga malalaking widescreen dito sa street, no? At ito along the street, yung dami ng tao na nakikita natin dyan sa mismong St. Peter's Square, ganun karami din yung tao dito na hindi na sumix dyan sa St. Peter's Square, pero nag-aabang
Mon?
ni siya lalo past 7 o'clock in the evening na. Yeah.
Okay, Mon, medyo choppy lang din yung signal mo, ano? Mukhang wide yung sakop nung signal jammer dyan sa may loob ng Sistine Chapel. But can you hear me okay now, Mon? All right, so
Yes, I can hear you now.
okay, Mon. So yes, ano, it's already past 7 o'clock dyan sa may sa Rome. So does that mean we're closer now to seeing some smoke there from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel? Right. So
yes, kasi ang sinasabi nila, approximately between 7 to 8 p.m. ang possible na labas ng smoke dito sa Sistine Chapel, oras na magsimula.
Okay, so we lost Mon there, but he was talking about how any moment now we can expect some smoke to come out of this chimney from the Sistine Chapel, because Vatican media did say that the first round of voting might conclude around 7 o'clock p.m. Rome time, and that's 1 o'clock here in the Philippines. So the whole world watching this, even there at St. Peter's Square, we saw an influx of people flocking there to the square to see for themselves if this chimney will be emitting some white smoke, signifying that just after one round of voting, they have elected the new pontiff of the Catholic Church. If not, if it's inconclusive, it will show a black smoke. There you go, seeing thousands of people now at St. Peter's Square. It is only the first day of the conclave, and it's good they are greeted with clear skies on this first day of the conclave as we wait for the 267th pontiff of the Catholic Church, the successor to St. Peter. Catholic devotees here praying, waiting, even for hours, as they hope to see the new leader of the church. Lots of front runners, lots of papabiles. But again, any cardinal is a candidate, and after many congregations, meetings among cardinals, they got to know each other, they got to discern over what the church needs in the modern world. Lots of challenges that the new leader will be facing, but he will be guided by the Holy Spirit. So again, tonight is the first round of voting happening inside the Sistine Chapel among 133 cardinal electors 132 of them present, physically present inside the Sistine Chapel, and only one cardinal taking his rest because he is sick, so he won't be able to participate physically, but his vote will still count. 3 infirmaries, as they call it, will be collecting his vote personally to make sure that his vote will count in this papal conclave. Okay, so at this point, we will be checking once again with Mon Gualvez. We won't get tired of trying because we are trying to see history unfold here. And we have Mon Gualvez giving us all the details there on the ground. Mon, mas okay na ba ang signal ngayon?
Hi, Pauline.
There.
I hope the signal is better now.
It is better. I can
Kasi
see you
palayo na ako
visually.
ng palayo
Oo
sa
nga.
St. Peter's Basilica.
We apologize, Mon, that you have to step away from St.
Kaya-
Peter's Square.
Pero kahit naman lumalayo ako sa St. Peter's Basilica, napakarami pa nga rin mga widescreen along the road. Kaya hindi mabibigo yung mga Catholics waiting along the street para nga makita yung smoke na lalabas dito sa chimney. And right now, nagkakaroon na focus na, no? Pinocus na yung chimney dito sa screen. And most of the people are readying their phones if ever ano man ang lalabas dyan sa chimney na yan, no? Kung anong usok it means. Dahil may ganyan ng signal, mukhang anytime from now, may possible na smoke nang lalabas. So, there's always a possibility that a white smoke can be emitted dito sa naturang chimney. Pero yun nga, most of the experts, most of the priests na nakakausap natin, talagang malabo or bihira na magkaroon ng Pope in the first day in which meron lamang kasing one round of voting. So maganda, pag-usapan talagang what will happen kapag nagkaroon ng white smoke bigla. So these people here might flock towards the St. Peter's Basilica dahil doon talaga magkakaroon ng mas maraming activities once na may ma-elect na Pope dito sa conclave na ginagawa. Akala ko may lumabas sa usok, naglo-loading lang pala yung yung video.
Mon, tama ba
So,
na kailangan
yes,
din
Pauline.
mag-allot, take a few moments pag lumabas na yung first signs ng smoke, ano? Kasi minsan medyo gray yung lumalabas. So, is it, di ba, parang tama na kailangan mag-antay ng for a
Tama.
few seconds para malaman talaga kung black o white yung usok na lumalabas?
Yes, it's a good point that you have raised, Pauline. No? It's because una talaga lumalabas, it's somehow grayish. So you have no idea if it's real black or white. So few seconds, around 5 to 10 seconds, doon magkakaroon ng linaw kung ano yung kulay talaga ng smoke based doon sa chemicals na nilagay nila after nilang sunugin yung mga ballots na ginamit dito sa conclave or sa election process para nga malaman kung sino yung susunod na Pope of the Catholic Church, Pauline.
And I believe they use this special chemical nga, no, to produce that particular color, kung white nga ba yan o black. But they will be using the the exact ballots na ginamit ng mga cardinal, ano, sa pag-elect ng mga boto. Tama rin ba? I'm curious mo, dito sa pagboto ng mga cardinal, sabi nila kahit yung pagdating sa handwriting, kailangan daw nila ibahin ng onte para hindi magiging halata na boto daw nila yon. They have to mask it in some way because that's how secretive this process is. Tama ba yung ganung kwento?
Yes, you're right. That's the value of secrecy na ginagawa ng mga cardinals at yung mismong apostolic constitution na pinatutupad dito sa naturang conclave. Kaya naman, bawal may makalabas kahit nga yung mismong tapos na yung naturang halalan or conclave or yung mismo election proper, talagang hindi pwedeng i-discuss or i-share yung mga nangyari inside the Sistine Chapel. So, ngayon talagang we are still waiting. People are anticipating and most of them are excited. Mostly are praying right now. Lalo yung mga nasa malapit sa St. Peter's Basilica, yung nadaanan natin kanina, no, talagang it's just amazed dahil ang dami ding media along the road dahil nga more than 4,000 ang mga nagpa-accredited all over the world dito sa nangyaring conclave coverage na ito. Kaya naman talagang sobrang halos 1/4 siguro ng tao doon sa St. Peter's Square na-occupy yan ng media in a way dahil gusto nga natin talagang maipakita in the whole world what is happening right now, which is very, very historical, especially for the Catholics in this world.
Well, Mon, tama ka, no? Because the last time that the conclave took place was back in 2013. And I don't think social media was as big as it was back then, 'di ba? Wala pa naman yung mga reels, hindi pa uso yung mga live stream on Facebook, etc. And people nowadays they do consume their news on their phones digitally. So now you have the whole world watching it. They're tuned in digitally. It's not just through their televisions or reading it on the paper. We now have access to it. In fact, this is the live feed of the Vatican media itself, live streaming this particular chimney as the world awaits whether black smoke or white smoke will be emitted there in that chimney. But Mon, I also wanted to ask, no, kanina nabanggit ni Sir Ed Lingao na may narinig siya na this first round of voting is parang a process also for the cardinals, or it's reserved for cardinals to vote doon sa mga marami na daw nagawa para sa simbahan. It's not necessarily them electing them as the next pope, but sort of like a tradition or na nakagawi nila na parang iboboto daw nila muna yung mga kardinal na I guess mas matanda at mas maraming nagawa para sa simbahan. How true is that?
It might be true, Pauline, because one reason for that, dahil nga yun yung kilala talaga nila na talagang malapit sa Pope at the same time, at syempre nasa Curia, Roman Curia, no, so yung mismong ginagawa niya is on an international level, hindi lamang tulad ng mga Pope, mga cardinals na nagsuserve in one country or in one specific kumbaga area or archdiocese or diocese man yan, no. So one interesting lang din talaga dito sa pinaka-inaantay natin na results, no? Kasi kahit paring kardinal pwede hong ma-elect na maging Santo Papa. So meron palang gano'n, no? Maybe you're asking, meron palang kardinal na pare lamang, hindi dumaan sa pagiging obispo or archbishop, no? So yes, meron. Isa ho dyan, si Timothy Radcliffe, isang Dominican and theologian. Siya ay kabilang dito sa mga cardinal electors among the 133 cardinal electors. So kapag nagkataon na isang pare na kardinal, oordinahan na siya kaagad bilang bishop sa Sistine Chapel, hindi ito mawitness ng tao, and then after that, saka siya dadali na sa Room of Tears kung sakasakali man, para may idea lang tayo, no? Kasi kailangan mo na ma-elevate yung kanyang role before maging isang Santo Papa kung sakasakali. Another interesting now, Pauline, I don't know if you are seeing it, pero yung seagull, ilang beses na talagang dumadapo or nagbabantay dyan sa bubong ng Sistine Chapel, no? If you can remember, yung last conclave that happened with Pope Francis na na-elect, ang nangyari nun talagang a seagull also, or yung bird na nakita natin doon, talagang dumapo mismo sa pinaka-chimney, no? We just don't know if it will happen right now, although mabibilis yung mga nagdaan kasi na mga conclaves. Itong kina Pope Francis at kay Pope Benedict XVI, inabot lamang ng 2 days. Although 5 ballots yung nangyari kay Pope Francis, while 4 ballots naman yung nangyari kay Pope Benedict XVI.
Well, I also wanted to ask Mona, no, because meron ngang kasabihan na you enter the conclave a pope, you leave it a cardinal. And that holds true because in the last conclave, there were a lot of frontrunners, there were a lot of papabiles, names, favorites, right? But none of them actually emerged as the winner. Pope Francis was never included in that list. He is an Argentinian cardinal, right, from Buenos Aires. Napakasimple niya. Hindi siya naging vocal about wanting to be the next pope. So does that mean for this particular conclave, lahat ng mga pangalan na to na lumilitaw, lumalabas na mga frontrunners, there's a big chance that they might not be the next pope?
Yes, again, possibility. Lahat ito maaari, lahat silang 133 cardinal electors are possible to become the next pope, no? So considerations are number one, yung mga nag-emerge during the gathering or the congregation among the cardinals. Secondly is yung popularity among the cardinals again. So these are the senior officials, the cardinals working in the Roman Curia. So yun yung mga criteria in a way. And then third, I just don't know because sinasabi din talaga ng mga pare and even the Vatican or the Holy See Press Office na yung mga madalas na pag-uusapan, hindi madalas talagang napipili, no? So I don't know, is it related to the secrecy, the virtue of secrecy dahil nga masyadong na-expose at napag-uusapan. So again, these are just interpretations at hindi natin alam because the only thing or the only people who can actually elect this pope are the cardinal electors na ngayon ay nasa loob pa rin ng Sistine Chapel and waiting tayong lahat dito sa labas if ano ang results dito sa unang pagboto nila para sa conclave this time.
Tama ka nga mo, ano, all 133 cardinal electors are also eligible to be the next pope. In fact, they did review one another already. They even had a book, this whole report detailing their background. And it's accessible pa nga online, no? So ngayon ko lang nalaman na there's a website, collegeofcardinalsreport.com, where you can even browse tayong mga Katoliko and really scrutinize each profile. But of course, our vote doesn't matter. Ang mga magmamatter na mga boto ay yung mga nasa loob ng Sistine Chapel. And of course, 133 cardinals joining this particular conclave. Among them, 3 Filipinos. And let's take a listen at our 3 Filipino cardinals taking their oath of secrecy earlier.
Et ego, Aloysius Antonius Cardinalis Tagle, Spondeo, Voveo, Acur, sic me Deus adjuvet, et haec sancta Dei Evangelia, quae manu mea tango. Et ego, Aloysius Antonius Cardinalis Tagle,
Et ego Paulus Virgilius Cardinalis David Spondeo Boveo ac Iuro sic me Deus adjuvet et haec sancta Dei Evangelia quae manu mea tango.
Ego Josephus Fuerte Cardinalis Advincula Spondeo Voveo ac Iuro sic me Deus adjuvet et haec sancta Dei Evangelia quae manu mea tango.
So there we go. We just heard Cardinals Tagle, Cardinal David, and of course Cardinal Advincula, 3 Filipino cardinals joining 133 elector cardinals at this particular conclave. Mon, I also wanted to discuss about this particular group. It is the largest, no, and most diverse set of electors. Talk about the significance of that.
Yes, yung dami na ngayong naupo na kasama sa electors or cardinal electors ay big deal din talaga, no? Kasi 80% or 80% of that is pawang mga appointed by Pope Francis himself. Natanong nga din in the past kung magkakaroon ba ng issue dahil nga sobra sa 120 na
Okay, Mon, medyo nawawala ka sa linya, no? Okay, so we will check again with Amon Gualvez, who is reporting live from the Vatican. Again, we are possibly just moments away from seeing that first smoke emerge from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel. It is already 1:30 a.m. Philippine time and 7:30 Rome time. And any moment now, we are expecting smoke to emerge from that Sistine Chapel. Okay, so at this point, we will check back in with News 5 1PH anchor Cheryl Cosim. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Pauline.
Ayan. So we have a better...
Ba?
Yes, we
Hindi
have
na kami gagalaw. Okay.
Oo, parang good idea yon because we have a clear picture of you now with Father Vergara. Okay, so how...
Alam mo, Pauline, kanina we were listening. We were listening sa inyo ni Mon and pinakita nga natin yung panunumpa, yung pag-take ng oath of secrecy ng tatlong kardinal natin, the 133 cardinals. At tinatanong ko kay Father Vergara, ano yung mga sinasabi nila? Ano ang laman noong oath of secrecy?
So basically, Bishop and the Holy Lord, sinasabi ko doon na mga I'm calling my God, I'm calling my God as my judge, no? Whenever I place my hand in the foot of the gospel, parang siniseryoso. At seryoso naman talaga yung oath of secrecy na yun, na ako ay boboto para sa susunod sa Papa. At yung sa tingin ko ay talagang paglilingkod ng tapat hanggang huli sa simbahan at sa Diyos. So I call God as my judge sa ikakast ko na po.
At sa mga oras nga na ito,
okay, so Cheryl, mukha nga na-mute daw yung audio. So, i-check natin yan. All right.
ayan.
Okay, better. Yes.
Okay. Okay? Is it
Yes, Cheryl, go ahead.
good? Father, ginala mo yung... Ayun, pinag-uusapan natin yung oath of secrecy at ano yung pinakalaman talaga nung sinasabi nila nung 133 cardinals.
So, doon sa unang part ng oath of secrecy, nakita natin si Cardinal Parolin. Siya ang nanguna doon sa oath of secrecy na yun na sila ay nangangako bilang individual at bilang cardinal electors that they will observe itong secrecy na as mandated by the Apostolic Constitution in the present of the Securities. And kapag ito ay na-break ito, and they will incur automatic excommunication sa simbahan. And yung isa-isa naman silang naglagay ng kanilang kamay doon sa Book of the Gospels, they are calling, each one of them is calling God. No? I call God, I call my God as my judge. No? Parang sinasabi nila na hukuman ako ng Panginoon kung ako'y sakaling magkamali sa aking boto. Diyos ang bahala sa aking ginagawang pagboto na ito dahil sagrado yung pangalan na ilalagay ko para sa susunod sa Papa. Kaya talaga seryoso. Fidelity nila in secrecy.
And at 7:34, we thought, Oli, na around 7 ay makakakita na tayo ng usok. But apparently, meron lang konting delay and maybe i-consider na natin yung dami nila. We have 133 cardinals. At yung isa doon ay may sakit na nananatili sa Santa Marta, na ang gagawin ay kukunin ito ng tatlong nauna ng bubotong cardinal electors, susunduin yung balota noong cardinal elector na ito at ibabalik sa loob ng Sistine Chapel. At ganun lang mangyayari sa kanyang pagboto habang wala pa tayong nakikita ng puting usok mula dito sa chimney. So sa mga oras na ito, Father Vergara, tingin nyo, bumoboto pa rin sila?
Palagay ko ngayon ay
tapos na. Nagka-cast na.
Sa isang
nagbibilangan na sila.
So naglalagay kasi isa-isa pa nilang ilalagay doon. Meron pa silang sinasabi.
Bago nila ilagay sa chalice.
Kanila yun, kanila, tapos lalagay nila doon habang may sinasabi sila ng corporate doon. Kapisado yung corporate sinasabi. So isa-isa sila.
At pag binasa yan, ay parang may mga napili, di ba? Tatlong, may scrutineer,
meron ng nakadesignate doon sa tatlo na magbabasa. So, papasa ko, halimbawa, yung una, babasahin ko, cardinal ganito, babasahin ko, cardinal ganito, babasahin ko, susunod cardinal. So, 3 beses sasabihin. To make sure na tama yung nandoon na nakikinig sa kasi syempre yung pagsulat, baka mamaya iba yung pagbasa. So, to make sure na tama yung pangalan na mag-extend sa binoto nila, ay at those 14 years yung mag-certify na certain cardinal na pangalan na ito na
Ganun pala yun, Pauline.
Oo, Cheryl, no? Kasi I guess maaasahan talaga natin mas matagal dahil nga ito nga yung pinakamaraming cardinal electors, 133. So mukhang mas matagal nga ito than previous times. Pero Cheryl, gusto ko rin may tanungin lang ako kay Father Vergara, no? If he was able to tune in dun sa homily kanina ni Cardinal Giovanni Re, doon sa misa kaninang umaga. We had Cardinal Re talking about love that has no limits. Sinabi rin niya, hopefully daw ay mag-guide daw sila ng Holy Spirit. Father, if you can just help us break down that homily and yung significance ng mga sinabi po ni Cardinal Re kanina sa kanyang mensahe na rin sa sa cardinal electors.
I'm sorry, pero hindi ako na-tune kanina doon sa
Kasi may pasok siya, may klase.
Pero nabasa ko lang ay nakasenter tayo ni Cardinal Re about love. At yun ay sabi niya ay only love has the power, no, to change the world, which is totoo naman talaga. And kapag tingnan natin, no, yung love talaga kailangan natin sa mundo ito. Dahil una, no, yung pagmamahal, all-encompassing yan. Hindi lang yan tumatanggap, hindi lang yan pumupunawa, bagkos nagtatama din yan. So yun ang kailangan natin ngayon sa simbahan, hindi lang yung welcome tayo, upunawain na natin. Hindi, kailangan din natin ng may nagtatama. Dahil parte yun ng pagmamahal sa atin. At ganoon din naman ang Diyos sa atin. Hindi lang niya tayo niyakap, hindi lang niya tayo itinaas, kung hindi itinatama, niya din tayo kapag tayo ay nagkakasali. Kaya napakaganda na capture talaga ng salitang love. Yung dapat ng quality na mayroon yung sunod na Santo Papa. Love for God and love for humanity. So, no more, no less.
Ayan, napakaganda nga naman, Father.
Pauline?
Yes.
Klaro ba kami doon?
Oo, napakaganda, Cheryl. Si Cardinal Re nga talking about love. And it has really strong power. It moves faith. Pero Father, gusto ko na rin po tanungin, since maila po ang mga cardinal sa talking about how they will be voting in this particular conclave. But we do know that they have to consider a lot of factors, di ba? Mga issue. Para sa inyo, Father, ano po ba ang mga kinakaharap ngayon ng Katolikang simbahan?
Sa akin ay ako na dapat hindi na nagpansin ako paano natin gagawin na yung simbahan ay baka mag-welcome tayo, no? Pero how are we going to make our members active again, no? Ito sa simbahan. Kasi alam natin yan na maraming simbahan dito, lalo sa Europa, sa mga nagpalataya, lumilipat na sekta. No? So, paano natin sila papawagin pabalik dito sa simbahan? Paano natin sila i-re-evangelize ulit sa pagkakataon? Tapos pangalawa, nakita ko, dahil nga ang simbahan ay moral compassion doon, no? Lalo na kayo na parang stable, no, na powers around the globe, no? So yung simbahan bilang moral compass ang patay dapat pumunta yung ating kapayapaan, paano natin makakatay dito, no? Dahil nga ang policy, palagi yan, sa Papa, palagi siya dapat nag-advocate for peace and order sa mga.
Okay, maraming salamat, Father, no? Yes, Cheryl.
Pauline, napansin, kung mapapansin natin, parang consistent siya or parang may continuity doon sa iniwan ni Pope Francis. Itong gusto nilang ipaabot, Pauline, na mensahe sa mga Katoliko. At yun nga hindi lang sa mga Katoliko. Talagang sa buong mundo na, sa bawat individual na gustong ipaabot na walang pinipili ang Diyos. Na hindi niya mahal. Lahat tayo. Lahat tayo, anuman ang iyong nasyon o pagkatao o anuman ang iyong relihiyon, iisa ang Panginoon. And a loving God. Ganon yung lumalabas na mensahe. And maybe, the way I see it, ay doon sa mga general congregations na diniscuss nila, ay doon patungo. You know, yung mga concerns and issues also ng bawat cardinal na bahagi ng general congregations. It's a different church now. Mas ramdam na church ang parang gusto nilang mangyari sa direksyon ng simbahang Katolika. I'm not sure if you...
Tama po yun. And yun naman talaga ang role ng Santo Pablo. Dahil yun din naman ang ibigay sa Kristo na kay Pedro, no? To confirm the faith of your brethren. Pagdang tama, pagka-guide, pagka-welcome sa kanila. At sabi ni Kristo din kaya Mr. John is lead by pakani mo ang akin. Kaya hindi naman nagbabago yun. Bagamat meron tanto pa in our history during the dark ages na simbahan na nagkamali. Pero isa lang ang ginagarantiya dito ng Espiritu Santo, hindi masisira ng isang tao sapagkat ang Diyos na nagtatalo ng simbahan.
They really want to be closer. No, ang church. Unlike nung mga noong una ay parang napakataas at napakalayo. Ngayon, talagang gusto nilang ilapit. At
Like the sheep, sabi ni Pope Francis.
At kung titingnan talaga natin dito, Pauline, yung mood, puntahan natin ng kaunti, yung mood, eto na medyo maliwanag pa naman din talaga kahit na mag-aalas 8 na ng gabi dito sa Vatican. Pero talagang padami na ng padami. I don't know kung ganito ba. I wasn't here nung panahon ni Pope Francis, pero napakaraming tao. Huwag kang gagalaw, Father Vergara. Ang igagalaw ko lang yung telepono ko kasi ako nakakonect ako sa linya ni Father Vergara and nakadepende tayo yung pagiging klaro ng ating signal. Kung igagalaw ko lang siya, I don't know if you can see now.
Ayan, dumami na nga, Cheryl, no?
Napakadami.
Pero parang sa area nyo, Cheryl, may room pa? Parang medyo maluwag pa?
May room.
Iba ba yung section nyo kumpara dun sa mga nasa likod?
Iba yung section namin. 4, nasa pinakaharap kami na quadrant. Pero pag tinignan mo sa likod, nakikita mo ba? Nakikita nyo ba kung gaano kadami yung nasa likod? Yung sa amin maluwag pa Pero yung pinakalikod, kasi may 4 quadrants to Paulina, no? Pero makikita mo doon sa likod, ay punong-puno na. Punong-puno. Talagang lahat naghihintay.
So Cheryl, sino lang pwede dyan sa quadrant na yan? Is it just media, members of the media? Sa unahan? Sino lang yung pwede sa first quadrant or dyan sa area nyo? Kasi mukhang maluwag pa, no?
Oo, lahat naman pwede. Yung media talagang hindi pwede. Pero nakakasimple naman tayo kasi cellphone naman yung bit-bit natin. Pero pag siguro nakita nila talagang yung malaking camera ng media, talagang they won't allow it. Kaya tayo nakakatayo ngayon dito, parang maybe they thought now we're just vlogging or wala naman ng security pag nakapasok ka na sa bawat quadrant, wala ka naman ng makikitang police na nagbabantay at naninita na hindi kayo pwedeng umere dyan. No. Para ba? Nakakagalaw ang mga tao, maluwag pa. Kaya lang marami. Siguro nung kay Pope Francis, nasa harap lahat ng tao.
At yung nakita lang natin kasi kay Pope Francis, nag-white smoke na. So, sabihin naman, mga tao.
Talagang puntahan sa harap daw. So ngayon, ito, kalat ang tao pero na marami. Napakarami.
Very noticeable
tao,
yung...
nagkakwentuhan, may kanya-kanya silang hawak ng flag. Meron nga dito, may malaking Philippine flag. Nandun sa pinakaharap kasi. So ayaw namin gumalaw at hilahin sana sila kasi mawawalan tayo ng signal. Kanya-kanya, syempre parang may kanya-kanyang pambato ba? Di ba? May kanya-kanyang manok. O kanya-kanyang seagull. Huwag na lang manok. Seagull na nakakawitin natin na term.
Alright.
Tapos, may mga bata, yung mga kahit na mga babies, bit-bit nila, yung mga toddlers nila, yung iba nakaupo sa ground, naghihintay, maririnig mo iba, nagkakwentuhan ng mga past experience nila. Kanina, I'm not sure if you were able to roll it or use the material that I sent. Merong couple na Filipino na nakilala natin, and they were here nung during kay Pope Francis. At ang sabi nila, talagang balik-balik sila doon sa loob ng 2 araw na yung kahit umuulan at talagang naghintay sila sa puting usok. At muli, yun ang gusto nilang gawin. Kaya nakita ko sila kanina at nakakwentuhan na ganun din daw ulit ang gagawin nila. Babalik at babalik sila sa tuwing hanggat hindi pa puti yung lumalabas na usok mula sa chimney. As doon sa sinabi mo kanina, di ba, may nung una kasi na-announce ng Vatican News na walang botohan na mangyayari ngayon. Tapos medyo nilinaw nila or binago nila, may botohan talagang mangyayari ngayon. Pero hindi inaalis, it would be talagang historical. Kung puting uso, kanina pinagkakwentuhan namin ni Father Vergara na posible kayang baka puting usok ang lumabas dyan sa chimney ngayon. Kasi ang unang botohan na mangyayari ay talagang totoong botohan na. Hindi yung tradisyon lang. Hindi daw ito trial and error. Talagang, you never know, di ba? Baka ganoon kasolid ang desisyon ng mga cardinal electors this time. Sabi ko nga, nakalabing 2 general congregations, and I think that's more than enough to really discuss all the issues, concerns, at magkakilanlan sila doon sa kanilang mga pananaw sa bawat concern ng simbahang Katolika, no? Father, so anytime now?
Yes, kasi we have to factor din na bago pumunta itong mga cardinal Vatican, ay siyempre yung mga kilala na rin silang mga kardinal. Of course, lalo yung nasa Roma Curia, alam natin yan na kilala sila all over the world. Kaya sabihin ng mga cardinal na nagpapunta dito, more or less ay kilala cardinals, cardinal electors na natin.
Alam mo, Pauline, 12 minutes before 8 o'clock. So, Father, anong sa tingin mong nangyayari ngayon dun sa loob?
Baka ngayon, baka lang, yun, mag-umpisa na sila na mag-ila, siguro, o patapos na siguro yung paglalagay ng photo doon sa nagkamalaki niya chance. Nandun lalagay. So, baka patapos na yun. So, baka nandun na rin sila sa pag-umpisa na yung phase na magbibilang na sila ng photo.
So, it could take a while. Well, it's almost 8 o'clock. So possible na abutin to ng hanggang 8:30 or 9 o'clock?
Kasi we remember po, Francis, nag-elect siya ay gabi na noon eh. So,
parang alas 10 na. Parang 10 o'clock na ng gabi yun, Pauline.
Yeah, so yung sumunod ay gabi na. So parang baka ganun din ngayon. Kaya we expect it mga 8:30, 9:30.
Maganda lang sa na yung uso.
Okay, so Cheryl, medyo napuputol ulit yung signal nyo, ano? Kakamustahin muna natin si Mon Gualvez na nasa dulo naman nung St. Peter's Square, where the people are at. Hi Mon, checking back with you now. Kamusta na yung sitwasyon dyan sa may likuran, ano? I know you had to move a few meters away from where the people are at, but from where you are standing, marami na rin bang nag-aabang dyan sa chimney ng Sistine Chapel?
Yes, Pauline, actually, nandito kami sa area na pinaka-dinadaanan ng mga tao, no? Pero ito kasi off-limits muna ito sa kanila. Kaya naman yung pinaka-side lamang, yung pwede nilang pagstayan. Kaya nakikita yung may space din sa akin, pero this is the pathway towards the St. Peter's Basilica. That's why it's empty. At pinapayagan lamang dito yung mga media personnel, though actually doon lang dapat sa pinaka-scaffolding saka sa may barikada, no? Pero yun nga, napagbigyan na dahil sobrang dami nga ng mga media. Pero alam mo, ang masarap mapag-usapan din dito while waiting kung ano bang lalabas na usok dyan sa chimney of the Sistine Chapel is yung age ng magiging Pope, no? In the past, dalawa ng mga Pope natin ang parehong nasa almost 80 years old. Pope Benedict XVI was 78 years old when he was elected as a pope, while si Pope Francis was 76. So we just don't know kung magiging batihan din ba or batayan din ba ito ng mga cardinal electors sa pagpili nila ng bagong Santo Papa. Dahil alam naman natin kapag medyo may edad na ang isang cardinal elector, most probably baka hindi ganoon ang magkaroon ng issue naman daw sa mabilis lamang yung kanyang reign, no? At hindi magkakaroon ng continuity eventually at saka stability of the governance, in which ito rin yung nangyari. Kaya una nag-resign si Pope Benedict, and then this time 12 years of his administration as the Pope, ito namang si Pope Francis. Pero on the other hand, ang concern naman kapag sobrang bata daw, this is another issue na baka magkaroon naman daw ng parang mahirapan mag-adapt ang Catholic Church or ang leadership towards changes dahil nga siya pa rin, no? Yun yung mga concerns ng ilang mga experts and critics dito sa mangyayaring conclave na ito on who will be the next pope eventually dito sa mangyayaring conclave, Pauline.
Well, while we are waiting for any sign of smoke from that chimney, Mon, balikan lang natin yung conclave schedule because I believe the cardinals are supposed to have dinner din. So, tama ba? Anytime now, dapat lumabas na itong usok na ito? Kasi, of course, you also cannot keep all these cardinals in one room until late at night. Or is that a possibility? Pwede silang magpuyat dyan hanggang tapusin nila yung unang boto?
Alam mo, hindi dapat kasi kailangan nila talagang kumain. Alam naman natin, most of the cardinals ay may edad na, no? Most of them are in 70s or late 60s and 70s. Kaya naman they are kailangan mas mag-focus sila talaga sa sleep, no? Yung pagtulog nila ang mas importante. Kaya hindi din sila maaari magtagal masyado dito sa Sistine Chapel. Talagang yun yung inaantabayanan na kailangan sila lumipat sa Casa Santa Marta for their dinner at the same time para makapagpahinga na rin eventually kung wala pang may elect na pope this time, no? Kung black smoke ang lalabas dito sa chimney. So if black smoke ang lumabas sa chimney, so bukas ng 7:45 in the morning magi-start yung schedule nila ng pinakapagboto. No, yung 7:45 a.m. it's just the procession from the Casa Santa Marta to Pauline Chapel, again towards the Sistine Chapel, at saka magsasagawa ng election around 9:15 a.m. pa, no? At doon na nga boboto. So kapag sa unang pagbasa hindi magkaroon ng 2/3 of the votes, agad-agad boboto sila ulit, no? Yun yung twice in the morning, and then after magkakaroon ng break, and then sa afternoon naman mangyayari. So ang ilan pa sa mga issue pag nagkaroon ng deadlock, I don't know if you have discussed this already, ang deadlock yung kapag nagkaroon ng dalawang pinakamataas na boto among all the cardinal electors. Kumbaga pag may ganun na doon na deadlock, kapag tumatagal na yung araw na wala pa rin nabobotong Santo Papa, yung deadlock na pinag-uusapan, yun na lamang ang pagpipilian ng mga cardinals sa susunod na round ng mga pagboto. Kasi nga, kapag 3 days na wala pa rin naboboto or nahahalal at napipiling Santo Papa, magkakaroon muna ng break. Kailangan muna nila mag-reflection. Then afterwards, 7 balloting. Ibig sabihin, 2 days ulit yan. 4 and 3, no? So, ito yung mga titignan natin na araw pa kung sakasakali na matagalan itong pagboto ng mga cardinal electors this conclave.
And of course, after the voting, sabi mo nga mo, babalik sila muna sa Casa Santa Marta if this particular vote does not result in a 2/3 majority. Pero tama, di ba, habang sila ay nasa Casa Santa Marta, pati na rin yung kanilang magiging ritual ng pagpunta sa Pauline Chapel, bago sa Sistine Chapel, wala pa rin silang connection from the outside world. Hindi pa rin sila pwedeng kausapin, even ng mga tao sa labas. They cannot use their cell phones. Talagang complete, no access to the outside world.
Yes, yan talaga yung pinaka-essence ng conclave, yung conclave na binabanggit. Ni email, di sila pwede mag-email during their stay sa Casa Santa Marta. Talagang they need to focus dito sa prayer and reflection as they ask the Holy Spirit to guide them and to elect the new Pope that will lead the Catholic Church, no? So talagang kahit yung mga nasa kasama nila doon sa Casa Santa Marta na mga people or staff helping them out, talagang kahit sila mahihirapan na makapagbigay ng idea or glimpse of what is happening outside. So talagang ang mga cardinal electors natin during this time, mula nang nagsara na itong pinaka Sistine Chapel, the doors of the Sistine Chapel, wala na. Totally wala na silang idea what is happening outside. Oo, so ito yung mga mas magbibigay sa kanila ng panahon para mas tutukan yung paghalal, no? 1268 pa nagsimula itong history ng conclave, no? Just sa Viterbo, Italy. At yun din naman yung pinaka-purpose kaya naman nagkaroon ng conclave para hindi magtagal na walang Santo Papa na namumuno sa simbahang Katolika. They need to focus, they need to put their whole attention with prayer and reflection dito sa pagpili ng new leader of the Catholic Church, Pauline.
Oo, tama ka muna, no? Because back in the 13th century, umabot ng 3 taon at hindi pa rin nakakapili yung mga kardinal ng bagong Santo Papa. So ang ginawa daw nila ay tinanggal yung bubong para mapilitan silang umabot sa boto because ayun na nga, mainit, di ba, yung external factors. And that's how the conclave, the tradition started. So it goes back centuries, ano? Balita ko nga rin kahit yung diet daw ng mga kardinal, minomonitor ng maigi because may secret notes pa daw dati. Tama ba na pinagpapasahan sa pagkain?
Oo mga codes na again wala naman tayong idea dito para sabihin na talaga nangyari nga in the past, pero ito yung mga iniiwasan na nilang maaaring mangyari din. It might happen, no? So mga bagay na ayaw nila na magkaroon ng mga codes, yung pagkain, yung consume whatever. So yun yung mga iniiwasan. Alam mo, hindi lang pagtanggal ng bubong, madagdag ko lamang doon sa nangyari sa 1268, doon before mahalal si Pope Gregory X. Pati yung pagkain nila, from 2 meals, ginawang 1 meal, tapos wala pa rin, inalis na talaga yung pagkain, bread and water na lamang ang pinigay sa kanila para mas maobliga silang makapag-elect. Kasi nga, yung problem na walang leader ng Catholic Church is a big issue. Lalo doon sa Viterbo dahil naapektuhan din yung kanilang ekonomiya. So yun din yung ayaw na mangyari this time. Kaya nga talagang mas serious at mas nadagdagan pa yung mga guidelines dito sa Apostolic Constitution na ginagawa every conclave. Medyo talagang 2 minutes before 8 in the evening dito sa Vatican, before 2 a.m. naman dyan sa Philippines, talagang wala pa rin lumalabas na usok dito sa chimney of the Sistine Chapel. So we are just concerned, siyempre yun nga, napag-usapan na rin naman natin yung diet, na talagang mukhang kailangan din na talagang kumain. Kasi nga kahit pagkain doon sa Sistine Chapel, wala rin po sila doon na gano'n. Talagang sa Casa Santa Marta lamang sila pwedeng kumain. Ang pwede lang nilang gawin sa Sistine Chapel, Pauline, is to cast their votes. That's the only thing that they will do inside the Sistine Chapel. That they will pray, and then they will cast their votes, and then doon na malalaman kung magkakaroon na nga ng 2/3 of the votes among the cardinal electors as we're going to have a new pope this time. Pauline.
You're right, Mon. I mean, but the fact also that this is the largest group of cardinal electors at 133, I think we can expect na mas magiging mahaba naman talaga ito compared to the previous ones dahil nga mas marami na sila, meaning there will be more votes that will be needed to be counted before they can determine kung maaabot nga yung 89 na yan. That's the magic number. 2/3 of 133. Mon, ito yung tanong ko, bakit maliwanag pa dyan sa Vatican, sa Rome, kahit na 8 p.m. na, supposedly, dyan?
Oo.
Maliwanag pa ba?
Hindi ako sanay na magbati ng magandang gabi.
Oo.
Kasi nga, maliwanag na ako pa. Hindi naman
Naku, Mon, parang medyo you're coming in quite choppy with your audio. Probably the signal jammers there are doing their job. Maybe
so,
any moment.
Dito sa Europa, in the morning, kasi nga matagal din sila Okay.
Ayan, I
All
think
right.
there
Can you
we
hear me
have
now
you. We
clearly?
have you again, Mon.
Okay, again, all right. Yung sa daytime saving siguro din dito at saka yun nga, maliwanag pa. Hindi ako sanay bumati ng magandang gabi kasi maliwanag pa dito. Pero I don't know why they're clapping their hands dun sa likod namin. Pero kaya napasilip ako sa likod kung may lumalabas na bang usok,
Wala
wala
pa,
naman.
Mon. Wala
But
pa,
then,
oo.
so, alam mo, ayan, na-distract ako sa mga pumapalakpak. Oh, wala naman. Kasi nga, grupo-grupo din yung mga nandito, Pauline, no? Grupo-grupo na mga magkakababayan, yung nagpupunta dito from different parts of the world, no? I don't know, syempre, they want their kababayan ang ma-elect as Pope. Dahil it's a pride at saka syempre yung paniniwala nila of the leadership of their kapwa no doon sa lugar, yun yung mga possibility. Pero right now we are still waiting and anticipating dito sa ilalabas na smoke dito sa chimney at yung mga clapping of hands. I don't know what's the reason behind that, pero malayo-layo naman tayo sa St. Peter's Basilica at saka meron din tayong pinaka-image ng chimney para malaman natin on what smoke it will emit anytime from now.
Oo, sabi
Pauline.
mo nga, Mon, lots of people there rooting for their so-called kababayans because this particular conclave is the most diverse. 70 countries are represented. And you have questions like, is the world ready for its first Asian Pope, for its first African Pope, or will it go back to the European, the Italians? And all of that. But here's an interesting point. I was able to read some commentary where they said na dapat hindi siya tinitignan as something as nationalistic because when the cardinal takes on the role of a pope as the pontiff and the supreme leader of the Catholic Church, hindi naman na niya ini-embody kumbaga yung values nung particular niyang bansa, 'di ba? He is representing now the Catholic Church.
Tama. At alam mo, isa rin sa magandang mapag-usapan dyan, Pauline, is yung huling naging discussion or point of discussion ng mga cardinals sa kanilang congregation or gathering. At dito nag-focus yung ano ba yung dapat na qualities ng Pope no, na hinahanap ng mga cardinals. At pinaka-umangat dito yung pagiging shepherd, pagiging bridge maker, at saka pagiging promoter of reform. And if we will compare it, itong mga tatlong qualities na ito, somehow similar with the qualities of Pope Francis on what he did during his reign as Pope, no? Ito yung titignan din natin kasi nga, usually, yung mga na-elect na cardinals, mga nanggagaling sa mga big countries. But what Pope Francis did was, karamihan sa mga in-appoint niya na maging cardinal, mga nanggaling sa mga countries na kung saan minority pa nga no yung Catholic yung Roman Catholic, kaya malaking bagay na nabibigyan daw ng boses itong mga bansang ito at yun din yung dahilan kaya dumami up to 133 significantly 135 no originally rather yung mga eligible dito pero 133 boboto this time. So all of these are somehow factors kung magiging similar ba ng pamumuno ni Pope Francis. Kasi nga, sabi mo nga, hindi naman to usapin na kung saan ka nang galing bansa, kundi usapin na kung paano mamumuno yung Catholic Church. Kaya nga, mas napagkukumparahan madalas if it will be a conservative one or a liberated or liberal na pamumuno na pamamaraan dito sa simbahang Katolika, no? Same as with Pope Francis. So, kung magkakaroon ba ng another Pope Francis or baka magkaroon naman ng conservative ulit na klase ng pamumuno that more focusing on the traditions. So, ilan ito sa mga pinaka-inaabangan din talaga na batayan. Kaya nga yung mga papabili, dito sila napag-uusapan dahil yung kanilang mga practices, mga paniniwala, mga beliefs nila, dito umiikot kung anong klaseng leader ang maaaring mamuno sa simbahang Katolika. Pauline.
And not just, you have Pope Francis not just promoting his progressive way, his inclusivity, but also rather him embodying that simpleness, the simplicity of right? He chose the name Francis because Pope Saint Francis of Assisi was the patron saint for the poor. You had Pope Francis living not in the Papal Palace, 'di ba? Hindi rin niya sinusuot yung typical robes, yung napaka-majestic na kasuotan ng mga Santo Papa. He didn't even ride the limousine. He would rather take the bus ng mga kardinal. He also changed a lot of traditions but still maintaining the values of the Catholic Church. Mon, do we still have you on the line?
Yes, Pauline, I'm still here.
Yeah, so
Can you see me?
oh, there you go. Yes.
Yeah.
So we have you.
All right.
Oo. Sige, Mon, tatanungin ko na rin, since I'm sure you've been going around Rome, at may malaking Filipino community din kasi dyan, di ba? Maraming mga Pinoy. In fact, maraming, dyan, yung sikat na fast food chain na galing dito sa Pilipinas na pinupundahan ng maraming turista. But in talking to all these Filipinos, yung mga kababayan natin dyan, what's it like being there at the center of the Catholic faith? And ano daw yung mga hinahanap nila sa posibleng next na Santo Papa?
Most of them, actually, na nakausap natin dito, Pauline, talaga, yung mga concerns na kinakarap sa Simbahang Katolika, yun yung gusto talaga nilang masolusyonan. Like yung ang sinasabi nila, siyempre yung concern about gender, no? At the same time, yung meron din binabanggit siyempre about the... nandiyan ba? Parang nawala ako.
Yes, Mon, we still have you. Yes.
Or can you still hear me?
We can still hear you. Go ahead.
Hello? Okay, yeah, I can hear you. Okay, ayun, as I was saying, so yung mga maaaring maging issue na pinag-uusapan, or I mean, yung mga binabanggit nila sa amin rather, na mga gusto nila na masolusyonan dito is yun nga, more of the, actually may iba nagsabi pa nga ng corruption, quote-unquote, na maaari sanang masolusyonan daw. So these are just opinions of our kababayan dito sa lugar, no? So mga bagay na talagang gusto rin naman talaga na makita ng lahat on what will happen at saka paano yung magiging leadership style ng ating magiging bagong Santo Papa, Pauline. Sorry, I was just distracted, parang nawala yung signal ko.
Oo, Mon, medyo nawala yung video, but we can still hear you clearly. Yes, so you were talking about the concerns ng mga kababayan natin dyan. They were talking about the gender, yung corruption. Isama ko na rin, Mon, yung mga naging abuso daw sa simbahan in different parts of the world. That has been one of the prime issues that has been hounding the Catholic Church. Kasama na rin yung mga yung nag-veer away sa kanilang faith. 'Di ba, Mon, may ganung ding issue, yung parang napapalayo sila sa simbahan.
Yes. Tsaka babalikan din natin, no, Pauline, isa sa mga naging topic dyan sa mga congregation or gathering among the cardinal electors, it's yung mga issues nga concerning the church. Nandyan hindi mawawala, no, yung migration, issue on war, kung paano ito haharapin din ng simbahang Katolika, and even environment. Mga tinapik, mga finokus ito ni Pope Francis during his term. So again, babalik na naman dahil nga marami mga na-appoint ni Pope Francis. So magkakaroon ba ng another Pope Francis this time? So these are all somehow insights ng mga Katoliko kung anong klaseng pamumuno ang gagawin ng magiging susunod na Santo Papa. So in terms of issues, tama ka yun, gender equality, migration, yung faith, no? Dahil nawawala nga daw or lumalayo sa simbahan yung faith ng mga tao. And of course, yung migration, malaking usapin din yan sa buong mundo na may kinalaman at mayroong, kumbaga, may tutulong ang simbahang Katolika.
Okay, sige, Mon, no? So right now, we are still closely monitoring this chimney atop the Sistine Chapel for any signs of smoke to signify that the cardinal electors have concluded their first round of voting. But as of now, it is 2:10 in the morning here in the Philippines, and it's about 8:10 p.m. there in Rome. So far, wala pa ngang any signs, possibly because there are 133 cardinals, the largest ever to vote in a particular conclave. At in the past rin, Mon, nung panahon ni Pope Francis at ni Pope Benedict, 2 days inabot yung kanilang conclave. So, just basing on that, posible daw na by Friday or early Saturday morning, magkaroon na rin daw tayo ng bagong Santo Papa if we're following that that timeline. Oo, so 'di ba? And even before that, even before Pope Francis and before kay Pope Benedict, 2005 or rather in 1978, meron din yung 2 conclaves in just a few months. It was the year of the 3 popes. And the second of that brought us Pope John Paul II. So siya nga yung the first non-Italian pope in over 4 centuries. And he had a long papacy, 27 years, and he did reshape the Catholic Church on the world stage. But ako personally, nung pinanganak ako, nagkwento na ako, 1995, so yung pope ko noon was Pope John Paul II. And then, pero ang nakita ko personally, Mon, si Pope Francis, nung siya ay bumisita dito noong 2015 para bisitahin niya yung mga biktima ng Typhoon Yolanda. Reporter ka na ba noon? Did you get to cover Pope Francis in his visit to the Philippines?
Yeah, I was there sa Tacloban also nung bumisita si Pope Francis na talagang nakisagupa kami sa napakalakas na ulan at hangin during that time in Tacloban, Leyte. At talagang yung hindi natawaran, hindi matawaran yung pananampalataya at saka pagkasabik ng mga Pilipino na makita yung isang leader na talagang nandyan at talagang nakikiramay sa ating sitwasyon, yung mercy and compassion na itinuturo ni Pope Francis during his visit. Yun talaga yung namutawi sa atin nung 2015 when he visited Tacloban, Leyte after the devastation made by Typhoon Yolanda. So, alam mo, Pauline, ma-share ko lang, may ilan dito talagang, hindi ko alam kung naiinip na, pero umaalis na. Pero there are just few number of people, although marami pa rin talaga naghihintay, nag-aabang, especially doon sa may St. Peter's Basilica or tapat ng St. Peter's Basilica na talagang punong-puno pa ng tao, gaya ng binabanggit kanina ni Cheryl at saka ni Father Derek. So, ito yung dami ng tao na talagang excited at gustong malaman kung magkakaroon ba ng another history this time na in just one day, there will be another pope. Kaya nga hindi natin malaman kung ba't ba nagtatagal. Kasi pag nagkaroon ng 2/3 kaagad ng votes, Pauline, mas makabahaba yung duration nila inside. Aside from casting the votes, talagang siyempre, aside from counting the votes at the same time, nandyan na yung process of asking yung pinaka nakakuha ng mataas na boto if he wants to accept it or not. Kasi if he doesn't want to accept it, magkakaroon sila ng round 2. At yung round 2 bukas na po yun ng umaga ng pagboto. At yung pangatlong tanong or pangalawang tanong rather is kung anong pangalan nga ang gagamitin niya as a pope. So talagang mas mahabang proseso na ito. And then doon na nga, magkakaroon na rin na, so ito yung mga aabangan pa natin na mga mangyayari sa kanila susunugin din yung pinaka mga ballots na yun na mag-i-emit. So we just don't know. These are speculations. These are just interpretations. Why is it na nagtatagal tayo dito sa binigay, although ang sinasabi naman ng Vatican or ng Holy See Press Office, yung 7 to 8 p.m. dito sa Vatican is just an estimate. Kaya talagang nag-aabang kasi nga yung kay Pope Francis, yung pinaka-time na siya ay na-elect bilang 266 Pope natin, talagang ginabi na rin dito sa Vatican. Pauline.
Oo, tama ka dyan, Mon. Ano? So, right now, we are still monitoring this situation. Nabanggit ni Mon, yung iba, medyo nagsisiuwian na. Ano? But you can't discount the possibility that white smoke could emerge and the possibility of the cardinal electors reaching a majority consensus after just the first round. So, pag-usapan natin yung possibility na yan, Mon. Ano? So, what happens when a pope is elected? So, itong sinabi mo, yung pagtanong na do you accept, doon pa lamang kaya isusunog yung white na balota to indicate yung white smoke ng mga balota to indicate na may napiling bagong Santo Papa because they need his acceptance.
Oo, kasi nga pag hindi nila muna tinanong at hindi muna tinanggap at nag-emit na sila kagad ng white smoke dahil nakakuha lang ng 2/3 of votes, magkakaroon ng problema kasi hindi maka-classify as counted yung kanyang pagiging Santo Papa kung labag sa kanyang loob yung pagtanggap dito as the new leader of the Catholic Church, no? So talagang kailangan muna malaman yung kanyang approval if he is willing to accept the responsibility of being the supreme pontiff. No, kaya kailangan mo nang itanong 'yon kung sakasakali makakuha nga ng 2/3 of the votes of the cardinal electors. Kaya iyon after noon doon pa lang yung mas mahaba pang proseso na pagpunta na sa Room of Peers, no? So may mga syempre paying of homage ng mga fellow cardinal electors, mahaba pa yan. Pero lahat yon, yung mga proseso na yon, mangyayari yan after na magkaroon ng white smoke na ma-emit sa Sistine Chapel. So ngayon, yung binanggit ko lang kanina na mga processes is yung kung makakuha ng 2/3 of votes kasama na rin sa inaantay muna bago mag-emit ng white smoke is yung pagtanong sa kanya, no? If he's willing to accept it or not. At mula doon pa natin malalaman. Kasi nga, may mga chances daw, may mga pagkakataon na ayaw talaga tanggapin yung responsibility, so they need to do another round of voting. Pero ito kasing atin ngayon, dahil nga first day pa lamang ng conclave, there's only one voting for today. And so the next rounds of voting will be tomorrow. 4 na beses ho yan, 2 sa umaga at 2 sa hapon.
Edmond, pag-usapan naman natin, apparently meron ding order of voting ang mga cardinal elector. So by seniority daw yan.
Oo, yung order of voting, kaya kanina nga marami din mga nagpo-post no na pangatlo si Cardinal Tagle of the Philippines. Siyempre, most of the Filipinos are amazed and are happy to see na kasama siya sa unang mga unang mga nag-oath no dito sa lugar. Pero actually yun din kasi yung pagkakast nila ng vote. So ito ay base sa kanilang position in the Roman Curie or in the Catholic Church. Kaya nga si Cardinal Perlin ang nauna no sa mga nag-oath at syempre yan din yung mga unang mga makakaboto dito.
Oo, tsaka mo tinitingnan ko itong process nung pagboto nila sa loob ng Sistine Chapel at mahaba-haba naman nga rin talaga siya because first off, hindi siya parang balota sa eleksyon na nakaprint ang mga pangalan at i-shade mo na lang. No, each cardinal elector has to write it down sa yung buong pangalan doon sa balota, 'di ba? Yung kanilang napiling kandidato, napiling cardinal, and then they have to walk to the altar, yun na nga, in order of seniority, holding their folded ballot in the air. So yan, napaka-importante din, 'di ba? Kailangan i-fold sa kanila, iiwan, i-drop doon sa receptacle na nakatakip ng isang plato. And then from there, magsisimula yung pagbilang ng mga balota. Doon na nga pumapasok yung 3 scrutineers at iisahin nila yan lahat, bibilangin nila, i-record nila at ibabasa nila out loud yung nakuhang mga boto ng bawat kardinal. And not just that, meron pa yung pagtusok, tama ba, ng needle doon sa mga balota with the word eligo. Ano ba yung significance ng eligo na yan, Mon? Eligo.
Naku, medyo hindi ako knowledgeable sa eligo na yan, pero
Oo,
pero
kasi it means to pick to elect.
Doon sa mga ginagawa sa balota, hindi siya basta sinusulat lang yung pangalan, kailangan kumpleto, at saka meron ding phrase na dinadagdag din dyan of the Supreme Pontiff na kanilang nais na maupo nga as the new leader of the Catholic Church, Pauline.
Oo, kasi dito nakalagay nga na they will be piercing a needle through the word eliko, which translates into to choose or to pick. And then, these ballots are tied, saka siya ipapasok sa isa pang third urn na doon na nga isusunog yung mga balota, and from there smoke will come out of the chimney. They just need to add this specific chemical para nga ipakita kung black, which indicates it's inconclusive, o white, meaning may napili na silang bagong pope ng Catholic Church. But for now, Mon, so kamusta na ang atmosphere dyan sa Vatican, ano?
Nako. Oo, nagdidilim na, Pauline. Dumidilim
Ayan na.
na dito sa nag-uumpisa ng dumilim dito sa Vatican. Pero alam mo, kahit sabihin ko kanina na may mga mangilan-ngilan na umaalis na or palabas na dito sa St. Peter's Square, talagang marami pa ring nag-aabang. Hindi ko alam kung kakayanin ng signal kung umikot dito, no? Pero yung mga nandoon sa mga likod ng bakal, talagang lahat yan punong-puno po ng mga tao, no? So ayan, medyo nag-freeze ako kaya babalik ko sa dati kong pwesto. Pero
Mon,
gusto ko lang pakita sa inyo na
yung mga
hindi
nandyan
lang
ba na
sa
nakaabang?
St. Peter's Square maraming tao, kundi dito rin sa nag-aabang din sila kahit na itong kahit na itong widescreen lamang ang kanila nakikita at nagiging basihan kung ano ba ang lalabas na resulta ng ginagawang conclave o pagboto ng mga cardinal electors, at inaabangan talaga nila yung pinakausok. Alam mo, ang magandang talagang pag-usapan din dito kung bakit talagang big deal pa sa mga Katoliko yung mga bagay na ito. Yung usok, yung bell, yung mga balota na yan. So, these are all part of the tradition na talagang pinatutupad din ng Catholic Church, no? And one of these traditions is yung kapag may nanalo ng Santo Papa or meron na nahalal at napiling Santo Papa, yung mas masayang atmosphere dito sa paligid ng St. Peter's Basilica. Dahil lalabas, actually hindi ko lang alam kung yun yung pinupwestuhan ngayon na Miss Cheryl and Father Derek, although ang ini-imagine ko kasi mas taas pa doon yung pwesto na kung saan pupunta yung mga Swiss guards and even the police, magmamarcha sila dyan, kasama yan sa traditions na ginagawa kapag meron na nahalal na Santo Papa. Doon sa harapan ng St. Peter's Basilica, papatugtugin yung Vatican hymn, because alam naman natin yung Santo Papa is also the leader ng state dito sa lugar, no? Kaya naman these are, at syempre kasabay noon or bago yun, nagkakaroon din yung ring ng bell ng tuloy-tuloy, no? Na masaya, no? Kasi nga yun yung pinaka essence dito. So most of the people here are excited and want to be part of the history kung sakasakali, no? Yun yung isa sa mga binabanggit nila, that this is something.
Okay, Mon, parang medyo nawawala ulit yung signal, and you're coming in a bit choppy. We're gonna try to fix that audio again. But for now, you are still seeing live images of the chimney atop Sistine Chapel as the whole world waits on the first signs of a smoke coming out of this chimney, which could indicate whether cardinal electors have reached a consensus in electing the next pontiff of the Catholic Church. A 2/3 majority vote is needed, meaning 89 out of 133. If not, it will come out as black, showing that their vote has been inconclusive. But it is not uncommon to see black smoke emerging from the chimney after the first round. After all, they say this first round of voting is usually for the discernment of the cardinal electors to get a sentiment, get a feel of how the other cardinals are voting, where they want the church to go in the coming years under the leadership of a new pope. But yes, this is the first day of the conclave, and there will only be one round of voting for today. It is still May 7 there in Italy. It is already 2:25 a.m. here in the Philippines, but 8:25 p.m. Rome time. So again, There are 133 cardinal electors, making them the largest and the most diverse group. And they are, of course, are following a centuries-old tradition of the papal conclave. They are inside the Sistine Chapel. The doors are locked, and they're locked away from the external world, from external factors, as they want to keep this conclave process very secretive and still steeped in tradition. Now, this conclave is does follow, as I mentioned, a very secretive process. It is inside the Sistine Chapel and sealed from outside communication. In there, they follow a very rigorous voting process, from writing down their candidate physically on that paper. It's not like your usual voting as compared to how we do it here in the Philippines. And of course, with the backdrop here is the midterm elections in the Philippines happening on Monday, May 12. But analysts are saying that it could possibly not take that long. We might have a new pope by Friday if we just base it off of what happened in the two previous times that Pope Francis and Pope Benedict were elected as the pontiff of the Catholic Church. Okay, so now we're going back to News 5 correspondent Mon Gualvez. He still joins us there at St. Peter's Square. Hi, Mon. Is this better now?
All right. Yeah. Mas clear pa ba?
Yan.
Pauline? Ayan.
Yes.
Okay. Mukhang pinapatay na nila yung signal jammer dito. Sana. Oh, pero as I was saying, dumidilim na rin dito sa lugar. Talagang ang lahat ng tao dito is excited pa rin na malaman. Kahit nga daw yung iba, may natanungan ako dito sa gilid, kahit nga daw black smoke, okay lang sa kanila. Pero gusto daw talaga nila ma-witness itong conclave per se. No, kasi nga, this is not happening annually, this is not happening all the time. So, ito yung pinaka hinihintay at inaabangan din talaga ng mga Katoliko na nandito ngayon. Ang swerte nga doon ng iba na schedule yung kanila pagpunta dito with their pilgrimage, no? Lalo maalala natin na nasa panahon pa rin tayo ng Jubilee year. Kaya naman talagang sobrang dami at mas dumoble, tumriple pa nga yung tao dito sa Vatican due to this conclave. May mga nakausap tayo in the past days na naggaling pa sa iba't ibang kontinente, iba't ibang parts ng world just to be here and just to witness this conclave na ginagawa nga natin to know who will be the next Pope or Supreme Pontiff and leader of the Catholic Church, Pauline.
Tama yan mo, no? And yung mga nakikita mo bang nakapila dyan, are they locals? Are they tourists?
Diverse, Pauline,
oo.
no? Marami dito, mga taga-Vatican or mga taga-Rome per se. Yung iba naman galing sa ibang parts of Europe. Pero what's amazing is yung mga galing sa other parts of the world such as America, meron ding galing sa Asia. Actually, ang dami galing sa Asia, no? Maybe because itong mga bilang na ito na mga pupunta dito, maalala natin 80 among the 133 cardinal electors are coming outside of Europe. So it's a big number. Kung tutuusin dito sa grupo ng mga cardinal electors this time na mag-e-elect ng Santo Papa. So yan pa rin yung mga considerations at talagang kaya pala sumisigaw, kaya pala nagpapalakpakan yung mga tao dito, Pauline, just maidagdag at maisingit ko lamang. Sa tuwing pumupunta yung seagull doon sa chimney. So, it adds excitement to them kasi nga ito yung mga nakita nila na same scenario during Pope Francis election that time, no, nung na-elect siya as the 266th Pope ng simbahang Katolika, Pauline.
Sige, Mon, let's break down the numbers of the cardinal electors as well. 133 cardinal electors representing a total of 70 countries. So that's making them the most diverse group. They come from all corners of the world: Latin America, Africa, Asia, Europe, North America. The most from Europe, 53 cardinals. Yung mga galing naman sa North, Central, and South America ay 37. From Asia, you have 23. Kasama na dyan yung ating tatlong cardinal na Pilipino. You also have 18 from Africa and 4 from Oceania. So karamihan nga rin sa kanila, 'di ba? As we pointed out earlier, they were appointed by Pope Francis because he made it his mission to appoint cardinals, especially in far-flung areas. He really wanted to spread the Catholic faith in different parts of the world. And with that, Mon, dahil ba marami nga sa kanila ang na-appoint ni Pope Francis, is that an indication na parang gusto nilang ituloy nga yung nasimulan ni Pope Francis?
Hindi malabo, Pauline, kasi nga talagang yung principles ni Pope Francis ang maaari ding binabatayan nila at syempre pinaniniwalaan nila at nais nila pagpatuloy, lalo yung mga nakita nilang mga ginawa ng Santo Papang na mayapa para magpatuloy nga sa ngayon. Again, people are clapping their hands again. I don't know why. Kaya tumitingin ako sa likod pero maybe they're just excited or baka meron lamang nangungunang pumalakpak at sumunod yung ilan. So, ganon yung feeling dito. Masaya kasi yung feeling ngayon dito sa St. Peter's Square. Masaya lahat ng tao. Sabi ko kanina, as I keep on saying, excited ang lahat, anticipating on who will be the next pope. Kaya nga kahit na sinasabi nila na usually ang first voting hindi talaga nagkakaroon ng pope, lalo madalas black yung lumalabas diyan. Sila ayaw nilang umalis dito at talagang gusto nila makita kahit na black, no? Pero alam mo, madagdag ko lang din, in the last 10 conclaves, ang pinakamatagal na inabot ng 5 days dito sa pag-aabang ng susunod na Santo Papa. Yan ay kay Pope Pius XI, in which 14 ballots ang ballot series, no, yung pinaka ginawa bago siya na-elect as the Pope, no, at ang pinakamabilis nga diyan is yung kina Pope John Paul I and Pope Benedict XVI na inabot lamang ng 2 days with just 4 ballots. Ito kasi kay Pope Francis 2 days din pero inabot siya ng 5 ballots, no? So, yan. Ay, mas mabilis pa si Pope Pius XII. Sorry. Siya pala ay 3 ballots lamang. So, in the past 10 conclaves, inaabot lamang ng 5 days yung naging botohan. So, we just don't know if it will happen again this time. Kasi nga, sinasabi din ng mga cardinal electors na nakakausap ng ilang members of the press, talagang they're expecting na mabilis lamang matatapos. By Friday, sabi nga nila, we have a new pope. Pero we just don't know kung magkakaroon ba ito ng changes because yun nga, most of the cardinals ay galing outside the Europe, no? This is something not normal or not usual na ganitong klaseng members na boboto. So this is something new and this is something talagang kaabang-abang kung anong klaseng resulta ang ilalabas ng grupo ng mga cardinal electors na nagsasagawa ng conclave o pagboto ng Santo Papa, Pauline.
Well, you're right, Mon. Lots of first in this particular conclave as history is unfolding. But for now, thank you very much for giving us all those updates live there on the ground from St. Peter's Square. That was News 5 correspondent Mon Gualvez. Thank you, Mon. You're still watching this One News special coverage on the Papal Conclave. We are still awaiting for any sign of smoke from the chimney atop the Sistine Chapel. But for now, we're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. All right, and there you have it. Breaking news here on One News. Black smoke billowing out of the Sistine Chimney, which signifies that no pope has been elected just yet. You are seeing live pictures now at St. Peter's Square. Thousands of Catholics, devotees filling up the St. Peter's Square, cheering still, even though cardinal electors have not reached a consensus after the first round of voting. Once again, there we have it, black smoke emerging from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel after hours of anticipation, 3 hours to be exact, of cardinal electors since locking themselves inside the Sistine Chapel. Here it is. Black smoke, that dark plume is unmistakable as it rises into the night, confirming that they have not yet reached a majority decision and the Catholic Church does not yet have a new pope. Once again, you're seeing live images of this chimney atop the Sistine Chapel, that black smoke quite unmistakable after the first round of voting, indicating that there is no new pope just yet for the Catholic Church. That's because a pope would need a majority vote, 2/3 or 89 to be exact, out of 133 cardinal electors to be considered as a new pope. It is already 3 a.m. Philippine time, and it's already 9 p.m. in Rome, and it took the cardinals quite some time before they burned their ballots to signify that no pope has been elected just yet. Again, this is the first smoke of this conclave rising. It is unmistakably dark, and it confirms that cardinal electors have not yet reached a consensus. Now, thousands of Catholics, devotees also flocking to St. Peter's Square to see this in person, while the whole world watches as well. Now, this just also means that cardinal electors will have to return to Casa Santa Marta, and tomorrow they will be reconvening, resuming another round of voting. They will have up to 4 rounds of votes until they reach a consensus, and if they do not, they will repeat that process the following day. As we saw tonight, the first round of voting has produced black smoke, but it is not uncommon for the early ballots to be inconclusive. That's because in recent times, the first vote often resulted in black smoke, and it isn't until the 4th or the 5th round until they are able to reach a consensus. But in modern times, we do know that conclaves have become shorter and more efficient, but nevertheless momentous. Back in 2013, Pope Francis was elected after just 5 ballots, or after just 2 days. And in 2005, Pope Benedict himself was also elected on the 2nd day during the 4th ballot. But if that's any indication, no pope has been elected after just the first round. And as we are seeing here in 2025, as we choose the 267th pontiff of the Catholic Church, 133 cardinal electors have yet to reach a majority decision. And for now, that black smoke billows from the Sistine Chapel. With more rounds of voting ahead, the world continues to wait for the moment when this chimney will emit white smoke, signaling the election of a new pope. But for now, cardinal electors will continue their work tomorrow, casting more ballots and seeking the consensus needed to elect that new pope. So the process right now is not yet over. Cardinals will go back to reflecting, discerning, and seeking the guidance of the Holy Spirit. And the next time we see white smoke, that's when we'll know that a new leader has been elected and chosen to lead the Catholic Church. But for now, again, breaking news here on One News, black smoke billowing out of the Sistine Chapel to signify that no pope has been elected just yet for the Catholic Church. Well, this has been a special coverage on the Papal Conclave. For now, thank you so much for joining us and for watching, but we'll see you again in a few hours as we bring you the very latest from the Vatican. We'll bring you more updates, images, and stories, and yes, we will be watching each vote from the Cardinal up to the announcement of a new Pope. I'm Pauline Verzosa. We'll see you then. Good morning.